Let's get into it. Let's go to the Boston Gliderdrome.
From Grimsby to Sleaford, Scunthorpe to Mablethorpe, this is Linkspod.
Dave Peatling. When the Starlight Room first opened, I knew Andrew Malkinson's father, Pat, very well. I won't claim to be the first DJ at the Starlight Room, but I was the first one to play records.
I'm Bert Swain, that's my nickname, and as I say, I'm originally from 1959, skating, then it got burnt down, then back again when it was Teenagers' Night, 61.
So you were a roller skater originally, were you, back in the day?
When I was about 10.
Could you go backwards?
No.
My name is Stephen Malkinson, and I'm at the family business. I've been involved since 1967, but before then I used to come when I was a young man, and my father, Sidney, and his brother Ernest started all the business in 1935 on this site, and it was a skating rink, as was just said, and then it burned down in 59, and then became dancing as it's been known up to the present.
What was the cause of the fire? Was that found out ever?
No, it was never found out. There was a warehouse next to the building called Christians. They were haulage people, and they thought there was sacks they got stored there, and they sweated and caused the fire. That's what they believe happened in 1959.
Wow. And finally, one more man round the table here. Who are you, sir?
I'm Andrew Malkinson, Stephen's partner, and currently running the Gliderdrome.
Andrew also makes a very nice cup of tea, which we're all enjoying around the table, apart from you turned up a bit late for the tea. Sorry about that. Right, I want to get some memories. Who's the man to tell me about some of the historic acts that have performed here? Because they really have. As you walk around this amazing venue, there are so many posters of so many massive names.
There's far too many, really, to mention at the moment. Billy Fury came. He was in the dressing rooms with his manager. And in those days, they had to walk from the dressing room to the stage, and there was 4 or 5 bouncers around them walking through the crowd to get to the dressing room. There was no backstage dressing rooms in those days. And he looked out of the door and saw how big the crowd was, and he literally legged it with his manager. And my father came and was saying, "Has anybody seen Billy Fury? He's got..." But he'd gone because he didn't want to walk through the crowd. And we had people like Screaming Lord Such. He was a well-known name in those days, and he was carried on through the crowd in a coffin, because he was a bit eccentric, Screaming Lord Such. And Joe Brown, he came and he got into what we call a fracas. As the bouncer was walking him through the crowd, a guy took a swing at him. And to our amazement, really, Joe Brown set on this guy and punched him back, So there was a lot of liveliness going on.
Wouldn't happen these days. I believe there's a great story about the Beatles nearly playing here as well, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, my father booked the Beatles, Sydney, 1963, just as they were coming on the scene, really. And the contract was signed all by their management, and all signed, sent to my father to sign for £35. And my father asked around about the Beatles. This was in 63. And they would have been coming to the old Gliderdrome, because the Starlight Rooms didn't open until November 64, 60 years ago as now, really. And nobody had heard of them. So he turned them down. He sent the contract back, not signed. And by the time they were due to play at the Gliderdrome, they were number one.
Dave the Rave, give us some of your memories. When would the DJing go on? Prior to an act performing, after an act had performed, or is that a separate thing, just a night where it's DJ night with Dave the Rave?
No, it's never just a DJ night. I used to go on probably when it first opened, or when the Saturday night dance was on. And I'd probably go on for half an hour before one of the support acts came on, played records, and then in between them changing, because the Starlight Room had a revolving stage. And of course you could get somebody set up at one side and one playing on the front. As one went off, the other one came on. And in between I just used to play records, and then again at the end of the night as well.
Wow. Okay. Right. And people were all up and well up for a party by the time the act had finished, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was a question of making sure that you had the records that people wanted to dance to. And I don't know who it was who bought them, but every Saturday I played records. You'd always got that week's number 1, 2, 3 ready to go straight on.
This man would have been in the crowd doing his dancing to that. What are your particular memories? Any special ones spring up? Oh, let's have the highlights. Let's have the highlights.
Time, but Starlight Room wise, I see the greatest man in the world, Stevie Wonder. The next one I call is Otis Redding. Elton John was another. There was, I say, there's thousands really. I remember some of these, we was only 13, 14. We used to go on the land to earn enough money to come down the glider.
This is fantastic. Give us a flavour how much it might have been to see somebody like Elton John or Stevie Wonder perform here back in the day. Because an Oasis ticket for this 2025 is like people are doing £100, thousands of pounds in some cases.
That's right. Well, in those days when Elton John came in, it was 1971, I think, 71, 72. And I think it was around about 10 shillings to see him, you know. It varied from 7 and 6 in old money to 10 shillings.
Amazing. Oh, here's a Stevie Wonder poster that's been brought over. There's Stevie, who performed on the 21st of October 1967. Does it say the admission price? 10 shillings to come in. Bar and refreshments available. 50 pence in new money. Dancing 7 till 12. And would you have been backstage and have a word with Stevie?
No, I didn't. No, I did with one or two. There was PJ Proby. He came in 1965, and he was well known for splitting his trousers at the knee. And
aren't we all?
Yeah, that's right. And he was on stage, and there was the bouncers would be, you know, on the floor in front of the stage, and there was a few girls who pretended to faint, so the bouncers would lift them up, you know, take them away, and as they got them on stage, they became alive again, the girls did, and tried to fight off the bouncers to get to PJ Proby, but they were pretending to faint. And then backstage, when he came off, I was backstage at the time, and I really thought the backstage door was going to be knocked down by them. You know, they were really hammering at it, and I was thinking, gosh, this door's going to give in, but luckily it didn't. It didn't.
This building, it's bigger than people realise. As you come into the Gliderdrome, could you do maybe Andrew could do a little bit of a description here, because people, I guess, go into the Starlight Rooms and. I mean, we're sat in a very nice little bit of the venue, and the heating's on in here, and the rest of it's very chilly. But Andrew, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, well, we've got the bingo hall one side, and we've got the Starlight Room the other side, and only at the Gliderdrome can it happen where we have a game of bingo going one side, and we had 1,400 people to Leveller's concert on the other side. It's crazy, but it works, and you know, like last Wednesday, Scouting for Girls, like. They actually had a game of bingo before they went on stage. It's crazy.
Amazing. And it can't be easy, a venue this big, right in the centre of Boston. But this is an important place that we want to keep going for the not only the history, but also for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Like Friday night, we have skating in the Starlight Room as well. So we have little 8-year-olds whizzing around on roller skates. And on the other side, there's 80-year-olds playing bingo. So again, we're looking after the whole spectrum of the community.
It's a vital resource for Boston. And does the future look bright? I mean, there's a big football ground there. So what's going on here? For people who don't know that, we're right next door to a football ground. What's the story there?
Well, the football club moved, 2020. And it's there. I mean, there's not a lot of interest at the moment. Unfortunately, we seem to be lumbered with it. We're paying $36,000 a year rates on it, which is proving very difficult, Stephen, isn't it? That's right, it is. And you know, we've been left to our own devices, really, to carry on with it.
We don't get any help from anybody, you know. But you know, we have to, Andrew and I have to do everything ourselves to keep the place running. And it's very difficult nowadays with COVID and one thing and another. You know, it's very difficult to keep it going.
You can feel the passion from all of you. I mean, if this were to ever come to an end, Dave the Rave, it's not going to sit well with you people.
No. I mean, there's a lot of people in Boston that have got many memories. I mean, I didn't realise until I started doing my book the number. I know a lot of big names came here, but until you start doing that, you don't realise. And you think, well, a little place like Boston, what, population 25, 26,000, you're getting world stars coming here. And you go away, you're talking to people, oh, where are you from? Boston, Lincolnshire. Oh, Boston Gliderdrome. And you think, well, you're up in Durham somewhere, or Lake District, or down south, Bournemouth, something like that. And you can often run into people and say Boston, and immediately the thing is, oh, Boston Gliderdrome.
A couple of weeks ago, Robert Plant was playing at Grimsby on his way, and he went past John's Way on the dual carriageway, saw the Gliderdrome, never expected it still to be open. And on a Sunday afternoon, he pulled in, and he couldn't believe it was still there. And
he just knocked on the door, didn't he, and said, "Can I come in?"
Out the blue. And there's...
Did they recognise him at the door?
Dennis did, yeah, right. Straight away. Yeah, of course he did.
From the Humber to the Wash, Links Pod with John Marshall.
Dave, you touched on it. You've written a book. Now, when did this happen, and is it still available?
No, the book's no longer available, unfortunately. It's all Andrew's fault. What happened was, I always said when he was younger, when I retire, I'll write a book about everybody who came down here. And of course you forget about it. And one day, when are you going to write that book? So I spent 18 months at the library, going through all the copies of the Standard, taking all the adverts, putting all the details down. But as I was going through the papers, I realised there was a lot of the history there as well. So I've decided to put it all in the book.
Wow. As I arrived today, you give me a list of, that's all the acts that have ever performed here.
Yeah, that's all the acts. Wow. Every one.
And they were documented where? In the library or here?
No, it's documented in the library because I've got file copies of all the local newspapers. So I went through all those and took all the relevant acts and all the details out there and put it in the book.
People, when they hear this, are going to want this book. Now, why can't they get hold of it anymore, Dave?
I've sold out. No, it's funny because when I had it done, I was only going to have 500 copies done. And the printer who did it, I'd known him for a long while, a local printer, and he says, Dave, if you're going to write something like this, he says, make it worthwhile, have 1,000 done. And I said, well, all you're bothered about is making money. And he laughed. He said, don't you think it'll sell? I said, well, I think it'll sell. He says, well, bite the bullet. So I did. I had 1,000 done.
So now they've become collector's items if it's not in print now.
The daft thing is, when it first came out, I had a hell of a job selling them. In fact, I got to the last 20 or 30, nobody seemed to want them, so I passed them on to a local bookstore. I said, right, you can have these at a reduced rate. And I don't know why, but suddenly everybody wanted one.
Become a collector's item, you see, yeah.
Well, I've been told, I haven't checked myself, but I've been told that sometimes they're offered on eBay for £400.
Wow.
So I wish I had another 1,000 to go at.
What if somebody comes along and wants to put it back in print? Have you got it there ready to go?
No, because it's one of those things. I made inquiries at the printers because the printers, it was such a big book, they decided to have it done at an outside firm for me. And they sent all the details to that firm, and nobody seems to know what's happened to the details.
Have you got a copy round at yours?
I've got my copy.
Yeah. As long as you've got it.
That's not going anywhere because it's got a lot of signatures in it.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
That would be worth a lot of money, I think. Let's go round. Everybody's favourite act they've ever seen at the Gliderdrome. Dave the Rave.
My favourite is the reason that I got involved in the Gliderdrome. Andrew's dad knew that I was a big fan of Brenda Lee. And every Friday night, after bingo and everything, we used to go to the Ship Tavern pub at the top of Shodfriars Lane. And Pat came in one night. He says, your mate's coming to the Gliderdrome when the Starlight Room opens. I says, what do you mean, my mate? He says, Brenda Lee. And I cracked out laughing. I says, yeah, in your dreams. I mean, she was the #1 singer in the world at the time. And he says, she's coming to the Gliderdrome. She did a show in the afternoon, mainly for kids, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And came down, and Pat introduced us, photograph taken with her and everything, and saw the show, and I was over the moon. And the funny thing is, about 20 years ago, she was coming to Britain again to do a tour. And saw the advert in one of the Sunday papers, but unfortunately she was appearing on a Wednesday night, and the nearest place was Nottingham. And I couldn't go on a Wednesday night because Wednesday night was my late night working on the local paper. And the nearest place after that was Yarmouth on a Friday night. Well, Friday night, as far as I was concerned, was bingo night and Ship Tavern. And unbeknown to me, the wife got tickets. So I took the photograph of me and her in the dressing room. And when we was hanging about at the end of the show, there was several of her entourage came out and said, oh, she's had a long tour, very exhausting, etc., and she's not coming out at the moment, she's tired. So I said, could you take this and just show her and ask if she can remember it? And he looked, he says, blimey, she looks young there. Then he looked at me, he says, and you do as well. Turned to go, just a minute, sir. He said, I've got a question for you. He says, was this photograph taken in the place that had got fairy lights in the ceiling? So I said, the Starlight, yeah. There's your photograph. To Dave, Brenda Lee.
Wow. Okay, let's check with our roller skating superstar. Favourite act you've seen?
Well, it is in the Starlight Rooms. It's Stevie Wonder.
Were you allowed to let as many in as you wanted in the old days?
Well, yeah, T.Rex is the one really to remember. We had people say, oh, there was 6,000, but there wasn't. There was just over 4,000 people in that night. Wow. And they were on the balcony with their legs dangling down. We've still got photographs of that now. And in those days, the balcony didn't have exit doors on the balcony. And of course, after the event, the police got involved, and we were overloaded and got into trouble about it. And they made us put exit doors on either side of the balcony, and we had to keep it closed until we got those done. And as I say, that was T.Rex about 1971.
Wow! So Stevie Wonder for you. Did you get to meet Stevie?
No, because I see him actually later part of the night. But you know where I see him? Through the stairs. You know the opening? That's how full. It was right back to the rafters.
Oh, really?
Top and bottom. I'm not joking.
Wow!
And I think your parents got even a piano. He never used it, did he?
Oh, right.
Because he was a drummer, right, and he used to keep wandering off near the stage end, and there was petrified they're going to fall over. I say, hell of a show.
Andrew, have you got a favourite, mate?
Well, like I say, I can't go back too far, but I've got to say for me, Levelers, DMAs, and the last one, Scouting for Girls last Wednesday, I thought they were amazing. We had 1,400 people in there, and what a show! Amazing show. And I know people travel from all over the country again to see this. And I was on the balcony looking down. I was the proudest man in Boston on Wednesday, seeing all those people.
One more to go. Favourite act, sir?
Well, it's difficult really because there were so many. Elton John, as we say, Stevie Wonder. It's very difficult to say. But my favourite was Andy Fairweather Low. He was with the band, and it's just gone out of my head. It's ridiculous. They did the farewell concert in 1968, and it was Amen Corner. Thanks, Andrew.
Well, Paradise is half as nice.
That's correct.
And didn't he do Wide-Eyed and Legless as well?
Yes, they
that
did.
was him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. It was and that was really my favourite night, as I say. And if you go online now, there's still the that's online at the Gliderdrome. Their farewell concert. Amazing. And I remember they cost £1,000, and I remember thinking £1,000, Jesus,
Brilliant. Is there anything else we think we should get in there?
Just a little one really with Elton John, because when Elton John came, he rolled up in a big white Rolls-Royce Phantom Chauffeur driven, and I was a big Kiki D fan in those days. I still am a Kiki D fan, and to my surprise, Kiki D got out the car with him. And I was amazed, I couldn't believe this, Kiki D, But she didn't actually go on stage or sing or anything. She just came as a companion with Elton John. So that's one little story that I treasure.
Wow, yeah, it's strange. If she was here and they didn't sing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" together, maybe she had a sore throat or something.
Possibly right. Yeah, I think that was a little bit later on, but yeah, that's right.
Andrew has just pulled up a poster here. Now that's quite interesting because the top few on the bill I'm not familiar with, but you describe what you're showing me, Andrew.
No, I've got this poster. It's the headline bill is Johnny and John. The second support is Sonny, Child and TNT. And the third support is David Bowie. I'd love to get this poster to the first two, Johnny and John and Sonny Child, when David Bowie supported them. I'd love to know what they're doing now.
That's amazing. Well, what a great note to end on. Everybody, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you very much. And here's to the continued success of the Gliderdrome. Keep coming along and supporting this place, people. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Never miss an episode of Links Pod. Subscribe now, wherever you get your podcasts.